I still remember the sound before I remember anything else. That sharp laugh followed by silence, the kind that hits harder than shouting ever could. I was standing there with a mop in my hands, wearing a uniform that smelled like bleach and old floors, while a room full of people decided I wasn't worth explaining anything to. And, yeah, that was the moment I understood something about how the world works. Not the version they tell you, the real one. If you look poor enough, quiet enough, out of place, enough people don't see a human being. They see a problem they want gone. Back then, my name was Ethan Brooks. I was 22, working nights as a janitor at a private medical center in Ridgeway City. Not because I dreamed of it, but because dreams don't pay rent when you grow up with nothing. My dad disappeared when I was a kid, my mom worked herself into an early grave, and I learned real fast that life doesn't wait for you to catch up. You just move or you get crushed. People at that hospital never bothered learning my name. To them, I was hey or you, or sometimes just a look that said, move faster. The funny thing is, I actually liked working nights. Fewer people, less pretending. Just me, the hum of machines and time to think. I watched doctors rush by like they carried the weight of the world, administrators walking slower, heavier, like the building belonged to them. And then there were people like me, invisible, necessary, ignored. I used to joke to myself that if the place burned down, they'd blame the janitor before they checked the wiring. You know what I mean? One night, everything cracked open. I was cleaning near the emergency wing when I heard shouting. Not the normal hospital chaos, this was sharp angry. A man in an expensive suit was yelling at a young woman who looked barely old enough to be out of college. She was clutching her stomach, breathing fast, panic all over her face. "Sir, you need to wait," the nurse said. "We can't admit without authorization." The man snapped back, "I don't care about your rules." That's when he noticed me. His eyes flicked down to my uniform like I'd offended him just by existing. "You," he said, pointing at me, "why are you just standing there? Do something useful for once." The words stung, but the look on that woman's face hit harder. She was scared. Really scared. Something inside me shifted. I stepped forward and said, calm as I could, "She needs help. Now." The man laughed. Actually laughed. "And who are you?" he said. "The cleaning crew doesn't give orders here." That was my opponent. Not just him, but everything he represented. Money, arrogance, the assumption that power equals correctness. I felt my heart pounding, my brain screaming at me to shut up, to stay invisible. But I remembered my mom sitting in an ER years ago, waiting too long because she didn't have the right insurance, the right paperwork, the right life. She died quietly, like she didn't want to inconvenience anyone. I wasn't letting that happen again. Not in front of me. I turned to the nurse. "Call Dr. Hale," I said. "She's on tonight." The nurse hesitated. "We can't just—" I cut in sharper now. "If this turns into an internal bleed and she collapses, you'll wish you had." The man stepped closer, his voice dropping. "You're about to lose your job." I looked him dead in the eye. "Then fire me after she's alive." Everything went still for half a second. Then the nurse ran. Security started moving. The man cursed under his breath. And right there, that was the point of no return. I'd crossed the line people like me aren't supposed to cross. The woman was rushed in. Doctors took over. I stood there shaking mop still in my hand, thinking, yeah, that just happened. 10 minutes later, security escorted me to an office. Fluorescent lights, a desk, a woman in a blazer who didn't bother hiding her annoyance. "You acted outside your role," she said. "You disrupted protocol." I said nothing. She leaned back. "Do you know who that man was?" I shrugged. Doesn't change what she needed. That annoyed her more than if I'd yelled. She dismissed me with a warning and a look that said I'd be watched. The next few hours crawled. I finished my shift, but my head wasn't there. Around 3 a.m., a doctor found me. Same nurse from earlier, eyes softer now. "She's stable," she said. "You were right." Relief hit me so hard I had to lean against the wall. I laughed, quiet and shaky. "Good," I said. "That's good. I thought that was the end. I was wrong." The man in the suit. His name was Victor Langston. Turns out he wasn't just rich, he owned half the medical group that funded the place, and he didn't like being embarrassed. A week later, I was called in again. This time it wasn't a warning. It was termination. Restructuring, they said. No eye contact, no apology. I walked out with my last paycheck and a familiar knot in my stomach. Angry, tired, but weirdly calm, because for once I hadn't folded. I'd done the right thing, and yeah, I paid for it. But something else happened, too. That woman, her name was Claire, she asked to see me. I almost didn't go. Thought it might be a setup. But I did. She was sitting up in bed, pale but alive. She smiled when she saw me. "You're the janitor who yelled at everyone," she said. I laughed. "Sounds worse when you say it like that." She got serious. "You saved my life." I shook my head. I just didn't stay quiet. She looked at me for a long moment. "That's rarer than you think." A month later, things came full circle. Victor Langston ended up on the news. Not for charity. For a lawsuit. Turns out he'd bullied a lot of people into silence, cut corners, buried mistakes. When investigations started, my incident came up. Records, witnesses. The nurse testified. The doctor backed it up. Suddenly, my firing didn't look like restructuring. It looked like retaliation. I got a call one afternoon from a number I didn't recognize. A lawyer, then another, then the hospital administration. Apologies started rolling in, stiff and uncomfortable. They offered my job back. I said no. Offered a settlement. I said maybe. The real moment came when Victor and I crossed paths again. This time in a conference room, not an ER hallway. He looked smaller, not weaker, just exposed. "You cost me a lot," he said quietly. I shrugged. "You almost cost someone their life." He didn't answer. That silence. That was the victory. Not money, not revenge. Being right when it mattered and being proven right when it counted. I used the settlement to go back to school. Healthcare administration of all things. Yeah, ironic. But I wanted to be on the side that changes systems, not just cleans up after them. People still judge. They always will. I still get looks when I walk into rooms where I don't match what they expect. Difference is, I don't shrink anymore. Here's what I learned. Being underestimated hurts, but it also gives you clarity. When no one expects anything from you, every choice is yours. Courage doesn't show up loud. Sometimes it's a janitor with a mop saying no when silence would be easier. Sometimes it costs you everything short-term to win something bigger, long-term. So let me ask you this. If you were standing there watching someone be dismissed because of who they were, what they wore, how much money they had, would you step in, or would you stay quiet and tell yourself it wasn't your place? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear where you stand because these moments don't just test character, they reveal it.